I'm gonna show you some magic. It's the real thing. I mean, it's all the real thing.
Quiero advertir que en este programa de hoy aparecerán algunas imágenes y quizá otros contenidos que pueden resultar inadecuados, molestos o incluso ofensivos para espectadores poco formados o de sensibilidad delicada.
You know, some religions think that the egg is the symbol of the soul. Did you know that?
No, I didn't know that.
Would you like an egg?
I knew a wonderful woman who appears in my film as the Scarlet Woman in Inauguration of the Pleasure Dome. Her name was Marjorie Cameron.
So people said she was a witch or a sorceress.
Anger was deeply involved in the occult. He directed films with titles such as Lucifer Rising and The Invocation of My Demon Brother.
You could tell by the world that he surrounded himself in. This isn't just a movie he shot. This has reflected his activities and who he was.
And she was the widow of Jack Parsons, who was the adopted son of Aleister Crowley.
Well, you know, L. Ron Hubbard started out in Satanism. Hubbard started off as the magical assistant to a guy called Parsons in Pasadena who worked for Aleister Crowley, the Satan.
Well, I didn't know that.
And he had invented the fuel that took the rocket to the moon. That was Jack Parsons' contribution.
Who was a leading rocket scientist and a leader in what was the sole American outpost of the OTO, a occult group that was formed by the British occultist Aleister Crowley.
Fonda una bizzarra società esoterica chiamata Ordo Templi Orientis, l'ordine del Tempio d'Oriente, da cui derivano gli attuali gruppi satanici.
Secret society was founded to perpetuate its memory and preserve its secrets. I myself belong to the order.
In particolare la Chiesa di Satana, che è un mix originale delle idee di Crowley con la filosofia della controcultura hippie e delle organizzazioni anticlericali degli anni 60.
He was a scientist as well as an occultist, which is a very strange but compelling combination, to be have a scientific mind and yet be attracted to the occult.
Through the centuries, there has been a consistent tension and interrelationship between science and magic, and particularly in alchemy, the search for a means to manipulate nature that's part of the quest of science in many respects, and it retains an air of magic.
I don't think it's so much what we thought as much as it is the practice itself. You know, it's not the belief that matters. It's the aim of religion, but the method of science. You know, you want to know what works, why it works, how it works, what makes it work better. Whenever you do apply yourself to things like that, it changes the way you view the world. It changes your life.
Our concept in my mind of the OTO is not that it is a religious concept, but that it is a provable scientific fact. You do certain practices, certain things occur. And this puts it in a different category than what we call religion.
Well, we all know the difference between science and magic, right? Science is rational, magic is the product of mere belief and imagination. Magic could never, for example, take humans into outer space. Could it?
Pioneering rocket engineer Jack Parsons rises to the rank of priest in his occult religion, the Lemma.
Do what thou wilt. That shall be the whole of the law.
Love is the law.
Parsons believed that he could summon a goddess named Babalon. She is described as being the great mother of the earth and a symbol of sexually liberated women.
So Babalon is she's well known as the sort of holy whore archetype. But she's better understood, as you said, as mother of abominations. She's a sort of dark mother figure, the divine feminine, but not seen on a pedestal, very much seen at the bottom of a pit.
He asked his followers to participate in a project called the Babalon Working.
And I absolutely love working with Babalon, the mother of abominations.
Lots of people work with her today, and I've seen work with her take all sorts of interesting forms. You know, some people work with her from a more satanic context. Some people work with her within Thelema.
Ron Hubbard, the founder of Scientology, was an avid follower of Aleister Crowley and indeed practiced the 8th ritual of the OTO, which is a homosexual magical ritual intended to bring about the birth of a moon child who would be the Antichrist.
And I thought, oh, what a beautiful thing, because maybe one day it'll be like that. You know what I'm saying? Maybe one day it will be that. Wow.
She's one of the most exciting goddesses to work with today. And particularly in this sort of apocalyptic time that we're all living in.
He thought that through all of these sex magic rituals, the Scarlet Woman would come along to give birth to the Moonchild.
So she walked in to this party in 1946, and Jack spotted her and her striking red hair and identified her as the Scarlet Woman. He had been searching for this spirit that he had summoned in an incantation he referred to as the Babalon Working.
Jack Parsons tried to summon a demon by the name of Babalon, who in his estimation would be the mother of the Moonchild who would bring forth sexual liberation in America.
This scene is referencing. It's referencing a child being forced out of their little world, entering a dreadful world that we have to look away from because it's so terrible. And it's also a world that is so alien to this child that this child might as well be going to the moon. Essentially, the scene is referencing child abuse.
Mom!
Is because it's saying to the viewer that we have to look away now because something's going to happen that is too awful to look at.
To me, Caress symbolizes
Para mí, Caress simboliza la esperanza en el futuro. Y
la película que veremos en un momento, que es La hija de la luna o El hijo de la luna, Moonchild, esencialmente es una descripción algo mágica de esperanza.
I believe that pleasure is the weapon, and I want to destroy the world by pleasure.
We'll tear your soul apart.
The pansexual worldview that says all forms of sexual expression are equal and acceptable can be credited to Dr. Alfred C. Kinsey, the father of the sexual revolution.
I want to destroy the world with anarchy, and I want to destroy the world by just saying, forget everything anyone said, do it.
And so that was a thrilling experience. And while I was doing it, the famous sexologist, Dr. Alfred C. Kinsey, came to visit me because he wanted to see these paintings.
He further reveals that inside the Abbey, Kinsey found paintings, life-sized representations of sexual activity, including children.
The Dalton School has been caught teaching little kids to pleasure themselves. So it's not even just the broader ideology of LGBT and the sexual revolution. It's actually instructing them that it is good to pleasure themselves. So that the director of health and wellness, Justine Ang Fonte, at the Dalton School, is instructing 6-year-olds during her sex ed class to touch themselves because it feels good.
For everybody, male, female, 5 years old, or insane. I want the world to be wild and psychedelic and insane.
I have to say, Savile beats all of them. He is probably the most prolific offender that we've come across.
You are free enough. What?
Let me tell you something.
What do you do? Right. What is it that really gives you a kick?
I'm not constrained pretty well by anything. The tough thing in life is ultimate freedom. Ultimate freedom is the big challenge. Now, I've got it, and I can tell you there's not many of us that have got ultimate freedom.
Crowley believed that if you gave man absolute freedom to do exactly what he wanted, this could do nothing but good.
Total freedom for everybody is our goal, you know. That way, you know, it will be a utopia.
People are frightened of freedom. They think freedom, oh, there'll be excesses. Of course there would be excess to an extent, and then it would settle down.
Actually, the Jimmy Savile glasses, because I used to wear these, and John saw these, and he started to wear them.
We're sticking with the Express headlines. There were reports in other papers, but the Express dealt with this in a particularly clear way. So the headline here, I was raped at 13 by Jimmy Savile in a Satanist ritual. A victim talking out about her sheer terror as she was tied to an altar and raped by the depraved star, she says, during a black mass.
Crowley's message about sexual freedom, about social freedom, about challenging authority very much resonated at that time, and a lot of people in the late 60s and early 70s very much embraced Crowley and his message. It was a very good fit.
One of the interesting things I found several years ago in researching the Satanist Aleister Crowley was the influence that he has had on so many people here in the United States of America. And one of the men that he had influenced was Alfred Kinsey.
In his book, Kinsey co-author Wardell Pomeroy wrote that Kinsey went looking for a prized item, the diaries of Aleister Crowley.
Kinsey's successor as director of the Kinsey Institute, Paul Gebhard, revealed that Alfred Kinsey was interested in having sex with men, children, and animals. One of Kinsey's most damaging and outrageous claims was that children were sexual from birth.
Hey, how come my penis gets big sometimes and points up in the air? That's called an erection. Sometimes I touch my penis because it feels good.
This, I think, is the single creepiest thing I've ever seen.
According to the Kinsey Institute's own figures, between 317 and 2,035 children were used in these types of sexual experiments. Kinsey and his associates admit they use the diaries of sexual predators for much of their research of the sexual behaviors of children. But in the name of science, their identities were protected.
There's a photograph of me with Dr. Kinsey in the house, which Crowley called the Abbey of Thelema, which means the will.
Kinsey is pictured here inside Crowley's temple, known as the Abbey Thelema, where he performed his satanic rituals.
Look at how cute he is. They're matching tattoos. You know, this right here. You know why? No fucking reason.
Here's a symbol you should make sure never ever appears on a young girl's toy. It's a secret communication tool used by pedophiles. According to the FBI, those who distribute, produce, and trade child pornography use several symbols to secretly communicate gender preference, like girl lover, boy lover, and child lover.
Kinsey's closest associates and co-authors, Wardell Pomeroy, in a sex publication stated, "We found many beautiful and mutually satisfying relationships between fathers and daughters." In another publication, Pomeroy claimed, "Incest between adults and younger children can prove to be a satisfying and enriching experience."
Well, I'm very much into philosophy. A lot of different philosophers that I've read over the years, like Aleister Crowley.
We accept the book of the law. We accept the book of the law as a message from God to humanity through the office of a prophet named Aleister Crowley, who is specifically mentioned in the book of the law as the prophet of the God, delivering a message to humanity which will aid humanity, us all, in our process of self-liberation.
Kinsey's legacy is enormous. His cold, dead hand is still on the throttle of the sexual revolution.
On the wall is a picture of Crowley himself, while across from Kinsey is another man named Kenneth Anger. Anger was a close acquaintance who appeared in some of Kinsey's sex films, made in the attic of his Bloomington home.
And that Kinsey was directly influenced and had a tremendous affinity for Crowley, while a friendship with Satanist Kenneth Anger, for whom the Kinsey Institute to this day still operates and exhibit in honor of Kenneth Anger.
So important was Anger's relationship with Kinsey that to this day, the Kinsey Institute Library features a Kenneth Anger collection with an archive of Anger's films as well as the correspondence between him and Alfred Kinsey.
Kenneth Anger is a co-founder of Anton LaVey's Church of Satan.
The Westerfield House, a house where Anton LaVey, the founder of the Church of Satan, came and did his ceremonies a year after he created the Church of Satan with his friend Kenneth Anger.
An older Kenneth Anger is pictured here with the name Lucifer tattooed on his chest.
And Kenneth Anger also was, had a penchant for younger men, for sure. Bobby Beausoleil was his live-in boyfriend. That's the same Bobby Beausoleil that committed the first murder, killing Hinman for Charles Manson.
Manson family member Bobby Beausoleil is said to have brought Charles Manson himself to this house. Bobby Beausoleil also participated in these rituals with them, and
yes.
He lived in the house.
Yes, the room right behind you was his bedroom.
I mean, I don't know, what's Helter Skelter got to do with knife incident?
The connections are definitely there, very documentable, and unfortunately we see the results manifest in the complete depravity being passed off as curriculum to our children.
Instructing 6-year-olds during her sex ed class to touch themselves because it feels good.
Sometimes I touch my penis because it feels good.
Sometimes when I'm in my bath or when Mom puts me to bed, I like to touch my vulva too.
You have a clitoris there, Kayla, that probably feels good to touch the same way Keith's penis feels good when he touches it.
Because this is really, really creepy stuff. I almost didn't play it, except I think it's important to hear what is being taught in first grade classrooms now, all in the name of the sexual revolution.
What are you trying to tell me?
Maybe, just maybe, all of that sex magic actually ended up working.
Sacred cup that Babalon holds, where she has everything mingled within her cup.
Everything is poured into the cup.
Una bizzarra società esoterica chiamata Ordo Templi Orientis.
As people at the Abbey continued to lose their inhibitions, the sex magic rituals Crowley asked them to perform became more and more extreme.
So what these SRA survivors go through, basically it's hell. They go through prolonged mental, physical torture. They go through this series of practices which are designed to corrupt them and turn them into abusers themselves.
And the artist Sour Girl, whose real name is Gabriella, accused Manson on her post of repeatedly sexually assaulting her, cutting her hands with broken glass to make a blood pact.
And they go through being victimized repeatedly by the ritual abusers. So it's no wonder that many of them, at the end of all this, are very damaged and need a lot of help.
Ashley Lindsay Morgan's Instagram post alleged that Manson cut and burned her, and that during their relationship she wasn't allowed to eat or sleep or leave the house.
She wants the lover, but she doesn't want the pain. We accept pain. We accept pain as much as we accept the sunrise and the sunset. We accept the whole show. That is the tantric. That is the tantric attitude toward life.
The sexual union is famously known as tantric sex in the Western world, also called Black Tantra.
Everything that is equal, is real. Nothing is more desirable or even less desirable than anything else. We're here to enjoy the entire menu. We don't skip dessert. We don't skip the spices. We don't skip anything. She tried to skip it and was totally unsatisfied in that effort. And somehow through the course of her wanderings, she was finally able to accept the paper.
Many practitioners strive to attain siddhis or spiritual powers using all possible means, including forbidden ones, which are part of magic practices. They are called black magic.
Normal man and woman is repulsed by this sort of thing, and we wonder what actually can bring human beings to this. And I think what had happened was that in the Abbey, they had sated or satisfied so many of their appetites that all the time they were going just that bit further until eventually they were copulating with animals. And I suppose when you get to that stage, it is symbolic of the depth of evil.
As I said, it was a real learning experience for me, and that I, as a person, also felt as if I was descending into the realm of the Lord of Death.
Probably the most controversial and lurid episode in the whole Cefalù period is the attempted copulation between one of his scarlet women, Leah Herzig, and a goat. Now, supposedly, at the time of orgasm, the goat was to mount Leah Herzig, and at the time of orgasm, it was to have its throat cut. We can wonder whether what he was trying to do was, A, to test the dedication of his disciples, to see how far he could push them. Perhaps he also thought it would be a good show. I mean, Crowley was dedicated to novelty, and I dare say that would be a novelty to most people.
We have Jack Parsons' dagger, which is a fascinating object that he used in ritual magic operations.
Sure that you got the one that was on his desk.
Read what they do, God. They use blood in their rituals. Monsters.
Come in wherever you want. Come in. You want to cut me somewhere?
Do I want to cut you?
Yeah. You want an arm? You want a chest? What do you want? What do you want the scar? What do you want? Cut me.
Just don't cut your skin. Please do not cut your skin. Please don't.
Cut me.
Why would I do that?
It's easy.
Don't. Please do not do that. Please do not do that. Please don't. Please don't cut yourself. You don't need to cut yourself.
I need to do what I want.
He was a perverted man, deeply perverted. He may even have died of wounds that were self-inflicted during his own sexual activity because he was into self-mutilation and pain. He was a sadomasochistic homosexual.
The name of my abuser is Brian Warner, also known to the world as Marilyn Manson. He started grooming me when I was a teenager and horrifically abused me for years. I was brainwashed and manipulated into submission. I am done living in fear of retaliation, slander, or blackmail. I am here to expose this dangerous man and call out the many industries that have enabled him before he ruins any more lives. In a resurfaced interview from 2009, Manson spoke about their breakup and confessed via page 6, "I have fantasies every day about smashing her skull in with a sledgehammer." Jameson, a former adult film star, told the Daily Mail that their relationship didn't last long and that she ended things with the self-proclaimed Antichrist herself. She revealed, "I cut it off after he would nonchalantly say he fantasized about burning me alive." The actress also described him as vampiric.
Is it real? Well, we thought we'd just bring up for you on screen some of the cases that have actually gone to court. People have been sentenced. You can freeze this screen while you're watching this interview to have a look in more detail, but we wanted to put some evidence on screen.
Together as one.
Against all others.
Pomeroy writes that Crowley's curious magnetism drew people from all over the world, who came and became his sexual slaves. Some of these women left their husbands to enter the temple.
Mom? Mom?
Crowley met Leah in New York when she was only 19. She was totally dedicated to him and was prepared to do anything he asked of her.
I dedicate myself wholly to the great work. I will work for wickedness. I will kill my heart. I will be shameless before all men. I will freely prostitute my body to all creatures.
And in magic, that's what we call it. We call it the great work. We say that we are working to accomplish. We are striving to accomplish the great work.
The OTO is composed of a group of magicians, male and female, who accept the principles of the Book of the Law and Liber Oz. We study and teach yoga, meditation, ceremonial magic, Kabbalah, divination, and related facets of the Western mystery tradition.
Thelema was a religion founded by Aleister Crowley, an English occultist from the late Victorian period. Crowley was a Hinduist, a Buddhist, a Satanist, a pantheist, and he combined all these different beliefs into the religion of Thelema. Thelema's main creed was, "Do what thou wilt.
That shall be the whole of the law."
What the Book of the Law proposed, the Abbey of Thelema practiced. Crowley must have had in his mind the hope that this was the beginning of his new religion.
As far as Crowley was concerned, it was an experiment in a different kind of living. There were piles of drugs on the table. The children ran around naked and were allowed to sort of come into the room while adults were having sex.
They held group orgies as part of their ritual and included in them the small children the women had brought.
Peaches Geldof was a big Aleister Crowley fan, promoting the OTO, sex magic, and essentially Satanism on her Twitter and Instagram accounts.
Last year, Geldof tweeted the names of 2 crazed groupies who allegedly agreed to let singer Ian Watkins of the group Lost Prophets sexually abuse their children.
But offstage, he committed the most horrendous crimes involving children.
He blurts out, "I've got a 2-year-old on Tuesday." What do you mean you've got a 2-year-old on Tuesday? I've got a 2-year-old to rape on Tuesday.
La libertad sexual es algo muy importante para nosotros. Es un requisito necesario para la Iglesia satánica. No es el más importante, pero sí es del todo vital. Creemos que todos deberíamos tener la libertad para recrearnos en toda clase de fetichismos o de las así llamadas aberraciones que queramos.
That in fact senior people have been participating in occasional staged orgies.
Yeah, they were orchestrated by Marianne.
Marianne was a prostitute from Glasgow. She practiced S&M.
Marianne, she always wanted to stay in the background, but she was running the show all the time.
You mean it's all about sex, or...?
Of course not. They're under the illusion that they owe their money and success to membership in the order.
No one else is going to tell you this. Not your favorite singer or politician, who more than likely also belong to this hidden religion. Nowhere will they speak because they love it. They love their lives. They love their success. The money, the worship they receive.
Since we've gotten out, he's become like a brother to me. And that's one of the things we always do, you know, just as part of that bond, is whenever you get tattoos like that, it's something that both of you carry with you through the rest of your life, and it's really meaningful.
Convicted of a horrific crime, the murders of 3 8-year-old boys in Arkansas. The names read like an Oscar party guest list. Actors Johnny Depp, Jack Black. They are all supporting the West Memphis 3.
I just want to say thank you so much, man. I mean, you've become an incredible, important thinker and teacher for this generation.
Do you believe in magic? Do you, Jacques? Do you? In magic?
I believe it's magic. I believe it's magic.
Stayed out of, you know, I've always been a big supporter of the cause.
I ended up today to say, let's all get behind the West Memphis 3.
I'm going to show you some magic. It's time to trust your eyes now, not your feelings. Especially after all that I've shown you.
Last from the guy.
It's the real thing. It's all the real thing.
The aim of religion, whenever you do apply yourself to things like that, it changes the way you view the world.
Marjorie Cameron was more than a tad bit eccentric.
Many of the works reference her relationship with Jack and her studying of occult traditions. And then after Jack passed away, she settled in a small town called Beaumont, a high desert town. And there she really delved into magic.
Satan was described as having a high level as well as a low level. The high level was magic, literally magic.
She claims that she had visions of the coming apocalypse, and she created artwork about her occult beliefs that would later become popular during the Beat Generation.
Crowley became, in the subculture, a pop hero.
Cameron was a pivotal artist within the development of Los Angeles art and film at mid-century. The period where she's most heavily involved in Los Angeles beatnik circle.
She came to Los Angeles and she brought the Crowley occult side of things. We call it counterculture. She was a prime mover in it. So she was able to make contributions as a visionary and as a presence. You know, she was a very powerful person.
She came in and pushed Anais Nin out of the house by magical force because she wanted to be the only woman there. And Anais retreated, which is very interesting that she didn't have the power to stand up to Cameron.
This is chaos magic, Wanda. And that makes you the Scarlet Witch.
Aleister Crowley's guardian angel is a particularly powerful, dark painting, which is a direct reference to the British occultist Aleister Crowley, who was so important to her development as an artist.
What happened is, you know, Wicca sprang off from the teachings of the Golden Dawn, then you had chaos magic, which really kicked off in, I would say, the 60s, maybe, when you had people that took the Golden Dawn teachings and broke them down even more, made them even more simple, and just focused on changing reality, shaping reality.
Este señor es peligrosísimo, es que da miedo, o sea, Génesis da miedo.
My name is Genesis Briar Peorage. I am one half of Briar Peorage, which is the Pandragine. The positive androgyne is the future of the human species. We live in a world where the environment is very modern and our behavior is prehistoric. Until the human species changes, which includes its body, we will not survive. So it is our job to encourage people to evolve. That's what we're doing. You should too.
And that's how we evolve. It's not just about masculine and feminine, it's about a mixture of all forces within people when they become into adepthood. You actually embody the qualities of Baphomet, of the divine androgyne within your own self.
The mission of the OTO, as I see it, is to bring about certain changes which are set forth in the book of the law. And one manifestation of these changes is political. But the political changes are almost a byproduct. They've got to come after and as a response to certain more fundamental changes. Changes in values, changes in basically the way people think. And that will cause a political change.
We're coming for your children.
And then the war begins. We live in a war zone, and the war zone never ends, and that's what makes it fun. There used to be peace, and now there's war. But the war goes on, yeah!
They treated the dogs very well. They did not treat the children well, and I don't understand that whole aspect of them.
We didn't do a bad job with the kids. We did an atrocious one.
Psychic TV is the musical voice for the Temple of Psychic Youth.
an occult sect with ties to Crowley and practically every other Satanist of note. For example, the following dedication was made at the beginning of one live album, the 11th in a series of 23.
We'd like to dedicate this concert to Alex Sanders, who died today, the full moon of Beltane, who was known as the King of the Witches.
I can destroy light if necessary by a touch. In fact, I can do quite a number of things. Within the magic circle, I can materialize spirits.
And who was the man who made witchcraft and magic legal in Britain after a long struggle. So we'd like you to remember that.
Did you start focusing in another particular religion?
Wicca.
Wicca, all right. Could you explain to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury what some principles about the Wicca religion?
It acknowledges a goddess in a higher regard as a god.
Genesis P. Orridge, el líder del grupo Psychic TV, que esta noche va a actuar en directo para nosotros y que también nos va a presentar algunos vídeos realizados por ellos.
After years of studying the occult traditions of Crowley and Austin Osman Spare, of ingesting powerful psychotropics and practicing sex magic, putting the satanic Enochian calls to music and relentlessly blaspheming God, Peorridge was finally ready to come face to face with the spirit behind it all. And he consciously did what so many others do unconsciously. He embraced the darkness.
Yo siempre trabajo con la gente que me gusta. No me preocupa mucho lo que hagan aparte de eso. Yo siempre pienso que lo importante es que te guste la gente con la que trabajas.
¿Y qué es lo que más te gusta de...? ¿Qué es lo que más te gusta de él si, digamos, este aspecto de su religión o de su filosofía no te gusta? Cares. Preséntanos a Cares, que es... Preséntanos a Cares, que es la hija de Genesis y que ocupa un papel muy importante en tu vida, ¿verdad, Genesis? Porque siempre está presente